Well, today it's Collitalks, Collie Transformative Conversations. And I feel like I've been waiting for Christmas. And today I get to open my present. And my present is Joey Ragona. Oh my gosh, I am so grateful that he's here. I've just got to give you some background. I'm super excited and nervous too, because Joey is a mentor for me. And he's going to be coaching me through a program that he offers called Atlas, which I'll explain a little bit more about that. But anyway, Joey is the founder of Strategic Business Academy and the creator of Atlas, an online program, experience, and community that helps coaches, creators, and practitioners market and differentiate themselves in a calm, energetic way without changing who they are. Joey's clients regain 96% of their time. Amazing. Like, hello, can it get any better than that? To regain your time in a world where most people don't have enough time. So this is truly an exception because he helps them to regain this time while they're building this epic dream client relationship and increase their revenue with confidence. Now, what a combo. You get time and you get revenue and you get confidence. So as a simplifier, Joey is passionate about removing exhausting funnel, and we've heard so much over the years about funnel, but he's removing these exhausting funnel and launch mechanics, unfunneling, trademark, and pushy bro marketing so that mission-driven entrepreneurs grow their business in a heart-centered way without stress and overwhelm. I'm going to be posting so much information about this at the end of the podcast so that you can review it, view it, listen to it, and contact Joey. His business experience is beyond. It's Spinning Sound, exclusive DJ Remix Club, mail order 1986 to 203. Raytech Electronics VP of Family Business 203 to 207. JDR Investments, Real Estate Investments 207, and still ongoing. And Strategic Business Academy, Online and Marketing Coach 214 to present. And that's where I met Joey. And that's how I have come to know him, to absolutely just follow everything he does. It's just my heartfelt gratitude to welcome you today, Joey. So, wow. Welcome.
Wow. I'm just going to breathe that in for a second, or receive that in, because thank you so much. Yeah, I am so honored to be here. You have been and still are a huge part of my journey and my support system, my client, or my tribe, and soon to be client. And we've worked together in the past before, so I still consider you a client. And just hearing those words from you right now was epic. So thank you for sharing all of that. And I could not be more honored to be here. So
well,
let's get into discussion.
Yeah, you have guided me in ways that you will never know, even though I've let you know some of those ways. But yeah. So, Joey, to start, what motivated you to work in this field of, marketing, but now the heart-centered marketing? What motivated you?
It started back when I was fighting with my head and my heart, and, building online business by following normal, and the air quotes are up, procedures and paradigms and all that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with any of it, but for me, it just wasn't working because it felt very aggressive. It felt very pushy, and then recently the bro marketing term came out, and it was like, okay, and I just didn't feel like I was being 100% genuine. And even though I wasn't wearing that many masks, I would still say that there was some kind of a mask on there, because I was pretending to be something that I really wasn't, which was within I'm just going to follow all these things. I'm just going to, send out offers and and try to get people to buy and convert and all these other things. And even though we want a business that makes money and is healthy, there's another way of doing it, in my opinion. And I've
Mhm.
proven that for me and many, many of my clients, there's just another way of doing it. And that's just to respect humans, to respect people on the other end of an email, of a call, of a podcast or anything, and respecting them. And so that's what inspired me, which was like, I don't want to be treated this way in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
And I don't want to be that person either. So that's kind of what inspired me to take the leap and follow my heart. So for 3 years, I wasn't really following my heart, although my my heart was fighting to try
Mhm.
and say, dude, you're on the wrong path. But I'm glad I did it. Colleen, I'm glad that I did go through that 3 years of painstaking, anxiety and all kinds of the negative emotions every day. I would not trade that in for anything. And I know people say that all the time. It's a cliche, but so, we need to go through some kind of quote unquote pain. And for me, that was a major pain that I will honor till the day I die and will always refer back to when people come into my world because I've been through it. I know what it's like. It's not just a
Exactly.
theory. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned this because that's one of the reasons I can't let you go out of my life because you are so integral and authentic. And that led me right to my next question, which in a way you answered, but maybe you can expand on it. And that was, what have been some of your most powerful experiences during the journey that you've been on that has been a transformation in your own life and continues to be useful?
Are you talking about, I mean, I can go way back, to
Sure.
the first businesses, but do you want a timeline of anything or like you want to
Well, just
expand?
I'm looking at some of the most powerful experiences, right? Because this is what our listeners need to know is because, they're going through things and everybody's had struggles in their life. But for you, because this podcast is all about transformation, what, what have been some of those most powerful experiences that
Yeah.
has been transformative for you?
Okay. Well, I'll go back. I
Sure,
mean, I won't go
please.
to spinning sound, but maybe to my family business, Raytech, because that was a huge one.
Hmm.
And it was kind of like when I took over the company, because my dad passed in 2001. And
Okay.
all the way up until that point, he was asking me, like, are you going to take over the business? Are you going to take over the business? And I never really wanted to. It's very hard to tell a dying man that you don't
Mm.
want the business, right? So that was part one.
Hmm.
And I just had to be true to myself. And so, you know, um, everybody has different opinions about that. Maybe, tell your dad you're going to do it and lie to him. Like I didn't feel as though that was the right thing to do. So that was part one. But then the second, when I took over the business finally in 2003, and granted, it wasn't me deciding to do it. It was out of desperation because the music industry, which was spinning sound, was like really taking a hit and I wasn't making enough money. So the truth is that I went back out of desperation and I had this thing sitting in my lap, right? It was like,
Okay.
okay, I'll just go do this, right? And it's so simple. And it was kind of like there for me. So it was almost like a silver spoon, if you want to call it that, whatever. But what I realized was where my superpowers are, which is in the background and not in the front, and I'm not doing all these other things. So I just wanted to do what I do best, which is, market and copy and all these other things and just help the business grow and use my super genius of simplifying.
Right.
And long story short, things didn't really work out because I didn't get along with my brother-in-law, my sister, who basically ran the company up until that point, from when my dad died until 2003 when I came in, and my mother. And it was major family dynamics. And I'm sure every one of your listeners can understand kind of what family dynamics are. But if you power on family business, that's like 1,000 times more worse, especially when you don't get along. So it was a major decision for me to say, I'm not going to put up with this for the rest of my life, which was very difficult. And then we
Hmm.
also had a discussion, my wife and I, about my son and my daughter who was just born, because that's the reason why I went back and I had to bring in money. So my son was around, I don't know, 5 or 6 or whatever he was. And Nicole was just born. And so she said, well, you're taking away the opportunity um of Matthew or Nicole, in the future of having this business because it's your family business.
Mm.
And although that's right, I said, I'm not going to sacrifice my life for the next 18 years on the whim that Matthew or Nicole may want this company, right?
Right.
And so it was a major decision to give up a family legacy. And that was a
Oh,
big turning point of my life because it was like,
huge.
no, I'm out. I'm out. And I did it all for me. And a lot of us, we feel as though we can't make things about us. And I don't believe that's true. I'm not saying disrespect everybody or anything like that, but that was a big turning point for me because this is about my life. And
Right.
the only way I can make anything improve is by making sure that my life aligns with who I am as a person and as a soul and all that stuff, right?
Hmm.
So that was the first major point. And so aside from all that, it was like, this is what I want to do. I gave that up. And then I went into real estate investing later on, which was 2007 or something like that, 2006, whatever. And um, really focused in on learning everything because that's what I am. That's who I am. Like when I latch onto something, I am 1,000% in. I don't mess around. I do everything and anything to go learn it, to embody it. And so I did that. And that's when I started to help people who are in that world, who I saw were sacrificing their lives as well in a
Hmm.
different way. That's when it became apparent to me why my dad died, for another philosophical reason, which was like he sacrificed his life. He didn't have any life, and cancer told him, you better get a life at 57 because you only got 3 years left. And
Oh,
so 3 years or a few years later, this is 2007 now, like 6 years, 7 years later, I finally figured out, wait a minute, my purpose is to stop people from sacrificing their lives
oh,
because I was doing
wow.
the same thing, right?
Right.
I was doing that and I stopped doing that by not taking a company, said, screw that. And so in the real estate, I saw people every day, every week saying that they would be giving up whatever it is, weekends, nights, all that stuff for a few years in order to get what they truly want. And I said, can I swear on this thing or not?
Hmm. Absolutely.
It's bullshit. Like, so I
Right.
go, it's bullshit. That's not going to happen because you're going to be stuck in this loop and you don't see it. And so my whole purpose began to formulate from that point. And they didn't want to hear me because they were real estate investors, nothing against real estate investors, right? It's kind of like the same thing with online people who just want,
Yep.
like, just give me some money and get me out of this thing. So they were very money focused and I wasn't like that. And that led me to idea that these are not my peeps. Again, this is not again a judgment against humans or anything like that. It was just like, these are not my peeps. I need someone else to help them understand how to grow a business that's based around you and not
Hmm.
sacrificing your life for the business. And that's where Strategic Business Academy took a turn, which was not back in 2007, but in 2019, where it was like, wait a minute, what am I actually doing? So I kind of, let go of what the purpose was in 2016 by following more of the bro marketing things because I
Right.
was trying to grow the business. And then I realized because my head said, dude, you got to make money here. And my heart was going, but that's not what you're all about. Like, it's not
Exactly.
what's right. But so I went back in 2020 or 2019, actually, in the beginning of 2019 and said, no, I have to step into this complete purpose and whatever happens, happens. And Collie, we can talk about it more, but that year of 2019 was probably the hardest year ever of my entire life, including, it's very hard to compare with my dad passing, but I'll put it up there with it. It was
Hmm.
very, very difficult to deal with everyday depression, if you want to call it that,
Right.
worrying about how is this business going to run, and I don't even know what I'm doing, I just trusted in the universe. Anyway, there was
So,
a lot there for you to unpack, but that's
yeah,
kind
but how
of
did you get through it? How did you get through the 219? Because right after that, we slid into COVID.
yeah. Um, I got through it with belief. I mean,
Hmm.
that's the that's the only thing I can really say to you is like a true belief that I had something to share. I didn't know what it was, and I already been through two hells that I just shared with you.
Right.
You know, like I had this thing where I could go back and I could, spend my life in my family business with everything I wanted. New car every year, whatever, all the stuff, all the bells, but really not enjoying the environment, right?
Right.
That's the hell I'd have to live for money, whatever it was, for status, if you want to call it that. And it's the same thing as in 2019. It was like, well, I'm going to do all of this because I want to bring in money. And that was a hell for me. So and for anybody listening, I think it's a lot easier for us to know what we don't want. And
Mm.
that's what I didn't want. I didn't want to live my life based on something where I had to get up. I had to, and like I'm really highlighting that word had. I had to get up to do something. Whereas today I live to get up. Like it's just
Oh,
I cannot
wow.
wait. And so there's a complete difference. So it was not easy. I'm not going to lie to you. It was not easy.
No, but it was hugely transformative. And that's exactly what this is about, is because these transformations are, well, they're epiphanies, right?
Yes,
You could have
100%.
you could have done, the family business, but I guarantee you, you know, the path could have been similar to your father,
Yes.
right? And you might not even be here with us. You might have become unwell. Who knows, right? You definitely wouldn't be talking to me today, which would,
That's true.
and that would have been such a huge loss to me and to our, to the listeners and to all your tribe. Like it is just, wonderful that you followed. And I would you say that you followed your soul's calling?
Yes. Yes. I still, I play with this every day. Every day I play with mastery in another way, in another sense. I'm not talking about mastering your craft, which is part of it, but it's more of going back to when we were young, when we knew what our path was, and we
Right.
forgot it because we've been engulfed with everything else throughout that time, even including our parents. That you should go do this, you should go do that, or peers or whatever. And thankfully, I've always been the 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 black sheep, that I go
Hmm.
against the grain usually, and it got me into trouble sometimes. But I thankfully look back at my teenage years, and I'm glad that I didn't do a lot of things that people said I should do, including my parents. And it wasn't because I was trying to be, um, you know, just a teenager. Like I'm just going to do whatever. The opposite. It was what I truly felt. And so I'm trying to go back now as an adult and almost 60 as we record this. I can't believe I'm even saying that word, but holy crap, I don't even feel it. But
And you
you
don't
know,
look it.
thank you. I appreciate that. And going back to my childhood and thinking and trying to tap into like what was that calling? What was that true calling? And this is the work that I'm doing now personally on a personal development level, because I believe I'm doing soul work, but I think that there's another deeper level that I'm not in tune with yet. And
Hmm.
it's there. I'm scratching the surface of it, and I'm very happy where I am, but I know that there's another thing there.
And that will be something that unfolds itself, right?
Yes,
Absolutely.
100%.
As it will for others that are listening to this now, because with marketing and the funnels and I'm hit every day and I'm going, how are these people even getting my emails? I go away. And the biggest thing that changed me with everything to do with my business is when you said to me once, you are, not just, fear of missing out here, but I suffer from a little ADHD or AD, whatever it is. I don't even know anymore what they call it, but I do. And I can really get off track easy. And it's not just because I have a fear of missing out, but it's just like all this stuff was being thrown at me and still is, but I have deleted so many things and I've asked people not to send me emails how they get your emails, right? So this is a big thing with you is, you kept me focus, Collie, focus on one thing, one thing. And so my focus is my focus, but it's also just, I only have you as that I follow. And
Thank you.
yeah, I do, because I learn everything through you and I cannot wait to become your client in Atlas. And this brings me to, Joey, how do you see Atlas fitting into the world of marketing now?
That's a really great question. Thanks for asking that because I see that Atlas is um the unfunnel and Atlas are kind of the combination, and it's actually a movement.
Hmm.
And I see it more like as Atlas was like just the name of the program of like, hey, here's how to do, simplify your business and that kind of stuff and put together, build, buy back some of your time. Like that's kind of where it started. And I'm all about simplification. And then it was Unfunnel came to my, I don't know, my field of vision, if you want to call it that, or a gift from the muse. And about a year ago, something like that. And I see that as like the pinnacle, like that's the movement, the unfunnel movement, however you want to call it. So it's super important because I remember a couple of years ago, I don't know if this is going to matter to your listeners or not, but like
Oh,
this is
please.
again,
Yeah, share it, please. It
it's
will
more
matter.
about like the belief or the more about standing up for what you believe, right? Because
Right.
at both times when I was doing Atlas back in 2021, the idea of how to do it, I got laughed at a few times and like nobody's gonna ever, that's crazy. Why would you do it that way? And I'm like, well, that's because that's the way I want to do it. And
Hmm.
so I got laughed
Hmm.
at, and it really worked. And then the same thing with Unfunnel. The same thing with Unfunnel was, I don't know what this is called, but it's kind of like Unfunnel, and it became this word, and it became this movement that people were challenging, and they still challenge it to this day. But I'm getting clearer and clearer. And so if I would have stepped out of, oh, that's stupid, I shouldn't have said Unfunnel. Maybe I'll stop that. Then it wouldn't be where it is today, which is really not that far from this recording to where I actually started kind of promoting it or putting it up front and center.
Hmm.
And so now, instead of making fun of it, people are like, oh, I totally get that, even though they don't understand truly what it means. And I don't really understand really what it means, except for simplifying down to the basics of whatever it means for you in terms of a funnel, right?
Right.
Instead of having 50 steps, let's make it 2 steps. Like that's it. Like that's basically what unfunnel means. How do we make it simplified for you and your life? Like that's what it is. And so if I didn't, step into believing that there is something there, then I wouldn't be talking about unfunnel and I wouldn't be answering this question in the way that you asked it, where I see it as in a few years from now, maybe even sooner than that, that everybody is going to be on that path of how do I just get rid of all of this complexity in
Hmm.
my online world? Like that's where I
Exactly.
see it.
Exactly. The
And I'm
complex.
proud to be at the pinnacle of that movement. However, it's going to play out, there's probably going to be big players in it. Maybe I'm going to be one of them, but it's how do I make this very simple for everybody? So again, goes back to the purpose, right? Like, so
Right.
they stop sacrificing their life.
Exactly. And that's exactly it. What was the purpose, right? For you. And it comes back to that simplification because of the fact of what happened in your life with your father, over stressed, overdoing, never having a life.
Right. Right.
And so giving back again through this to people, giving back their time and their life. And
Yeah.
what better gift could be given to people? I don't know anybody that's not stressed out right now, and I don't know anybody that's not at some level struggling, whether it's a mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, financial level. There is struggle going on, and yes, there
Right.
has been through life. Everybody has struggles, as I mentioned before, but you're bringing such a gift of simplification. Like this is huge.
Thank you.
Can you describe it a little bit more for our listeners? Um,
Describe the unfunnel or
yeah,
Atlas.
well, both. Go a little bit into both for us because I know they're going to want to know. And yes, I will post links, but we've got their attention now, so please.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you're right about, the struggle that's happening now. And there always will be some kind of struggle. But as you said, in this time right now in 2024, there's more of it. Like we have to be aware of that. And and I believe, or I know for a fact that even when you mentioned COVID when it came up in 2020, and and that that everybody went online. That there was already tens of thousands of people
Hmm.
or thousands of people. Like there was a lot of people coming online already every single year. But when COVID hit, there was tens of thousands of people coming on every week. Like there was just like massive amounts of people. And it was the only time in my life that I know I was in the right place at the right time. It just felt like, wow, the universe is all lining up for me. And I think that was a gift, um,
Mm.
for what I had been through and what I
Right.
went through in 2016 to 19, because
Right.
I was on Zoom in 2017 before anybody really knew what Zoom was.
Wow.
I was like, okay. And then so Zoom was like, and now this is 3 years later, and everybody's like, oh, what's this Zoom thing, right? And I was already very familiar with all of that stuff and doing some kind of a cohort, like basically a group program, like
Hmm.
gathering people into a small group and teaching them and guiding them being on Zoom. And that's where it all exploded for me. And everybody was starting to do the same type of thing. And I'm like, wow, this is great because I'm at the cusp of this and everybody's wanting to get into this. Um, so that's kind of where it all began for me. And Atlas was, how do I make people, or what do I need to do? What do I need to show them? Because all these people are coming online and they have no idea what to do, and they're being taught standards and norms of marketing and online businesses that I have already been through
Right.
and
And
that
very
didn't align.
costly. And some of
Yeah,
them were extremely costly because I bought into some of them.
yeah, and most of them, like I'm not saying that they none of this stuff works. 'Cause I invested close to $200,000 myself
Oh,
in online
wow.
stuff. A lot of stuff. Yeah, a lot. And I'm not saying they don't work.
Right.
What I'm saying is that the people that I attract are heart centered. They're all about purpose, and they're trying to learn all of these things that they don't want to be overwhelmed with tech and all of these things. They just basically want to get up and talk. They just want to
Hmm.
help people. They just want to, how do I get people in front of me that align with what I do, and I can share my knowledge, wisdom, and guidance with them? How do I just put that together? What do I need to do? And they're being taught about all these other things, like all these other funnels and building page and all these things, building
Hmm.
things out. And I'm like, you don't have to do it that way, especially at the beginning. If you want to do it later, fantastic. So that's what Atlas was. Atlas was, because before Atlas, just to give your listeners an idea,
Right.
in that 2016 to 19 area, I had literally over 100 lead magnets,
Oh,
like opt-in
wow.
pages, right? So because I was taught, like, you have to put a lead magnet out every week, see which one works and all that. At the end of the day, I had 100 lead magnets, if not more. And with each one of those lead magnets, I had at least four opt-in pages to it because I was tracking, like, did it come from Google? Did it come from Facebook? Right? All these things. So I had over 400 pages, like individual pages that I had to track.
Oh,
So it
my
was crazy.
goodness.
That's just the beginning of the funnel. That's just the beginning. And I'm like, this is insane. And even to this day, 4 years later, whatever it is, I'm still trying to tear all of that down, trying to, like, where did I put this? Where did this
Hmm.
page land on my website? Like, and it's a mess. So I'm like, I don't even want to do that. How do I just make this really simple for everybody to make a healthy profit in their business? Because profit is different than revenue, right?
Right.
Because a lot of people talk about make 100,000, but then they spent 99,000 to make the 100,000,
Exactly.
right? So it's like,
Right.
okay, let's make a profit and let's give you back your life instead of you sitting, 18 hours a day, if not more, trying to bring in leads and all these other things. So that's where Atlas was born. That was
Wow.
that was it. How do I just make this? What do I need to teach them? So I stripped it all down and I said, hey, let's talk to a few people at a time. It doesn't need to be hundreds that everybody's telling you that you need. Raise your price a little bit and focus only on serving those few clients at a time, because in a group, and they will appreciate and love you and bond with you more because you're spending that time with them rather than thank you for your money, go watch this course, see you later.
Oh my
That was just how
gosh.
I approached, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I just swallowed that one, choke, choke, because that I did that. But when I found you, I was able to undo all that. And that's the key word. You said serve. You serve.
Yes.
You serve. You show up and you serve, and you never are amiss. It's like you're there 1,000%. You're just on and you serve, and that's what you're teaching, and coaching, and this program is about it, and it is about service. It
Yeah,
is.
it's 100% service. And that's, there's debates and arguments, or I guess proof of every kind of online business model you can think of that it works somewhere, right?
Hmm.
And it's kind of like in a down economy, in a crash, there's always somebody making money somewhere. So it's the
Right.
same thing with online businesses. And so that's why I serve and attract only people that are all about dream clients, all about people who are the people that I want to serve and have a part of my life and my business. Like, and that's a whole other part of the way I grew up, even with my dad. Like, that's what he taught me. And there's two camps, because people out there, if you ask right now, if you go ask 100 people, you'll get 50% will say yes and something, and 50% will say no to this question. Do you believe that you could be friends with your clients?
Oh,
And
please
you'll
tell us more about that dream client stuff.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
dream client is like a person who is part of your life. Like I said, they are a person. It's all based around the personality of who they are, as opposed
Right.
to, do they have enough money? What, where do they work? What kind of car do they drive? It's more about, who is the person I want in my life? What does that person look like that I want to hang out with and speak to? If I was blessed to every single day, that has nothing to do with money. And I know it's been said before, oh, it has nothing to do with money, but truly that's the big thing that I start everybody out with. Like, I want to know, who's that person that you want to go to the movies with, who you want to have over for dinner, and not literally, but who is that person, right? And if they're like
Mm-hmm.
your best friend, they're
Mm-hmm.
like your best friend. And if you get that right, and design this dream client DNA is what I call it. You design this person, and then you begin attracting those people into a world of conversation. Then the problems that they have, like you just said, Call, it could be all kinds of different things. It will begin to emerge, that
Mm-hmm.
the conversations become patterns of like, wow, that they're really struggling with this. And us, you and I, as experts in our field, because we know a lot of stuff that we could help people with, then we focus in on one that is again going back to our soul, which is where the
Right.
work is. This is where I do the work. And I don't really know how to describe it right now, but like, I'm trying to figure out, like, what is it for me? Like, knowledge is like air to me. So that I think it has something to do with that. But I'm also someone who just cannot stop sharing knowledge. First of all, I want to absorb it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to condense it, and then I want to share it with somebody else to say, this is what I just learned. Like, oh my God, like, let me share this with you. And a lot of times I would get in trouble for it. Like, there are people like, I don't want to know that. Like, who cares? Like, whatever. So I think that a lot of what I do has to do with that, which is what I'm all about. But aside from that, the dream client is that person who, when I look at what their problems are, it's something that I can talk about 24/7. And
Right.
I know that I can serve them and help them even with a paid program later on, but it's more about, wow, that is something I love, love, love talking about and helping them. And it starts there. Like, I'm just going to help you with this, with my knowledge, expertise, opinion, all that, and see how they respond to that. And that's where the program comes into play, because after that, it's like, wow, maybe I should put a program together to actually help them and spend time with these people, because they get it. They're like me. We're
Mm-hmm.
aligned, all
Mm-hmm.
that. You put them into a program like Atlas, you put them into a group thing, and that's it. You spend time with those people constantly, every day, every week, whatever it is. And you never get bored of it. You never get upset, because they're not people who drain your batteries. They're not
Oh,
just someone who gave you money,
right.
right? They're people who you could be yourself with and truly, truly be yourself, never holding back anything. And I've run businesses my entire life, and I can't tell you that I've been pretty close to being that authentic thingy, whatever you want to call it, the authentic person. But this now in this day and age, it's like I've never been. I shouldn't say never been so authentic because I always think that I've been open and honest, but when I end a call, any call, including
Hmm.
this one, I never get off the call and think, should I have said that? Or
Right.
should I have revealed that? Or whatever. And even inside Atlas, see, somebody will tell me something or ask something, and I'll pull up something from inside the business or whatever. And before I would have never really done that. I would have said, well, and kind of danced around it. But now I just show everything. It's like, here it is. Here's what I do. Here's black. And I feel so free
Oh,
because
yeah.
these are friends.
Yeah.
That's what you tell your best friend, right?
And this is exactly, you led right into, there was that time way back when, years ago now, because of things I was going through. And you said, Collie, this just isn't the right time for you, a couple of years ago.
Right.
And, I have now used that, with being, because I've learned this from your authenticity. I have learned to embrace it and go, yes, this is gut soul truth. And that is, I had person approach me and want to work with me, and a single mom, and struggling, and I just went, what, I just went, put on Joey's hat. What would Joey say at this point? And I said to her, I do not want to take food off your table. Could
Right.
I have used money? Oh, big time. Could I have done something with that? Yeah. But I wasn't going to take food off her table or her child's table.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
learned that from you because of when you said to me, this is not the time, Collie. That's how
Mm-hmm.
authentic. I want my listeners to get this. This is how authentic Joey is because of the fact he's so real and so raw, and he's so heart-centered and heartfelt and compassionate that you get what you see, feel, and hear from him. And I'm sure if we were in a room, smell and taste. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
but it's true. And your serving and your whole way of doing Atlas and doing, your whole unfunneling now is I find it to be so critical and so needed in the world. Because
Mm-hmm.
like I say, I've dropped everything except watching and listening and learning from you, because to me, it's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
It's and that leads me to my next question with you is, so now, what are you motivated and really curious to discover related to your ongoing journey in this? Like I'm excited to know what you're motivated and curious to discover, because this is about you as well, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
about you. So what are you motivated and most curious to discover and learn about all of this in
Uh,
your ongoing journey?
um, I'm curious to like within Atlas and what I do, all of it has to do with relationships, personal relationships, right?
Hmm.
The one-on-one relationships, whether you're having one at a time or multiple conversations on a chat or something with different people. And again, it's not like you're on 24/7 of these chats, but for me, like let's just call it personal relationships. So I'm excited and motivated to learn more on how to better those relationships because I've not been a great person about relationships in my earlier years. And so I have very like really great friends. Kevin Thompson is one, Steve Sims is another one who are like epic at their relationships. I follow Joe Polish, and these
Hmm.
are people that are like my triad of relationships. Giovanni Marsico, like my coach, like another person I want to mention that helps in teaching me about better human interaction in
Right?
relationships. So I want to learn more about that and become better at that because that's what Atlas is based on. And that's where I also see the world going because of AI and all these other things where
Mm.
it's becoming more robotized, if that's a word, but it is now. And, uh, and so we need to step into being more human, which I learned back from Dr. Robert Cialdini in 2012. That's one thing that stands out for me listening to him was being more human. And that was way before all this happened. And I
Wow.
think it's way more important today. And
Right.
so how do we be more human? What are the things that I need to do to be more human? And what does that look like? And how does that affect the business? And what do I need to put in place in order for me to be more human? Right? Like, and so that's what I'm excited about. That's what I'm motivated about is
Mm.
what's going to happen for me to make this a lot easier for everyone else to do. That goes back to simplification, because if I told you right now, well, Collie, what you need to do is you need to do more follow up. And I'm not talking about follow up. Hey, do you want to buy my thing?
Right.
Right? It's,
Right.
it's like having data on you and actually caring about you and
Mm.
having the old Rolodex thing, but in a digital format today of like going back and saying, hey, Collie, like, so how's your dog doing? Like, I know you bought a dog 5 years ago. Like, how's your dog doing? Like that kind of thing, like being more human and having open conversations and caring about people and showing them that you care.
Right.
And that's how I want to move Atlas forward and move the thing forward, because that's where, for me, that's where sales come from, is by caring about someone else and really caring about what's going on in their life, rather than, hey, did you get my latest offer?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Sign up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Don't think about it. Just do it. Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Wow. I'm just thinking like future pacing out here, with what you just talked about and through this whole time we've been together. And there is that huge sense of purpose. And so for you going into your future,
Hmm.
and a little timeline therapy here, not really therapy, but I'm really excited to know, you know, when you go out into the future and then you do look back, what have you been doing to accomplish that? You mentioned some of your coaches and what you want to do, but what other things is there any other little tidbits you can share with us that you're going
Yeah.
to be
I
doing?
I like try to have conversations with the 96-year-old Joey all the time. And what
Mm-hmm.
would he tell me?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like my mindset, and this is a whole other discussion with, we don't have time to get into today, but like
Oh,
my
well,
mindset
we'll
for
do another
money.
call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like my money mindset issues before were there. We're like, oh, I can't charge this much money, but so that's been removed. And I think that my 96-year-old would say, you're worth more than what you're actually charging. So that was gone. But then I don't see him telling me at this point a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
of what I'm actually doing, except for even simplifying more. That's
Okay.
really what it is. And everything's really been simplified. So let me give you an example of this.
Yeah, please do.
When I started in 2012, like officially kind of online, um, I said, I'm going to have a 4-day week. Like that's what it was. And I started doing that. So all that time I had a 4-day week. And that doesn't mean I was completely off Friday,
Right.
Saturday, Sunday, but it was a no pressure, nothing, you know, you're not responsible for anything. If nothing gets done in the next 3 days, nobody cares. That was cool. And it relieved a lot of pressure.
Mm.
And then I set up my days differently. So I worked like, 4-hour, 5-hour days, like we're actually kind of work hours.
Right.
And, and then in the last year and a half, I think it was maybe about a year, by talking to the future self and going like, how do you simplify this? Or what do you need to do? What does Atlas look like? That kind of stuff. I've actually now have a 4-day weekend. So I
Wow.
have I have a buffer day on Wednesdays. Is today Wednesday? No, today's Monday.
No.
Okay, so like Monday and Tuesday are my most work day, which is, you know, the from the afternoon to like 6 o'clock or whatever, 5 o'clock. That's it. And then Wednesdays, I am again no pressure day. It's like a relief day. It's a buffer day, like Dan Sullivan calls it. And I can't begin to tell you how that makes me feel and how that makes me even way more productive. So I'm taking away days and
Right.
getting more done.
Amazing.
And so that's simplified. And so what is it going to look like in the future? Is it going to be 2 days a week? And it's not like I don't put in a lot of work, because I love what I do. And that's the other
Right.
thing is I, I'm playing with the idea, and this is not just my idea, but I'm playing and want to speak more about the idea that there is no line between work and life. Like it's part of who you are. When
Mm-hmm.
you do your soul work, what you're here to
Mm-hmm.
do, there's no line. There's no life balance that's needed because it's just part of who you are.
Right.
And and so that's what I want to play with. And the idea of like, well, are you off on these? Yeah, there's some times when you, of course, shut down and don't do something. But what I'm talking about is normally like there is no line. So on, even though like Wednesdays, I am no pressure, I might take a Wednesday and write all kinds of copy or something, or I might whatever, or I might not. I might not do anything. I might sleep the entire day and I won't feel guilty about it. I'm like, whatever. I'm just going to do nothing. So I see that future self telling me more about what I need to do to reduce the cognitive load that's on me at this point.
Wow.
That's it.
That's interesting because I was that that's part of the question I had next, but you've answered it, and that was how can you surpass your expectations? With regards to stretching beyond what you've, you know, have been doing as well as taking yourself to new levels in your life and in your calling. And can you share with us before we leave? Can you walk us through a day in the life of Joey?
Yeah. Uh, I, I'll just do the week. So
Sure.
there's 3 days
Yeah.
right now. So it's
Right.
basically pretty simple. I wake up anywhere between 8:30 and 9,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's all about me. Like I get up and I have my bulletproof coffee, which I love,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoy that process of making the thing, and I read, and sometimes based on what I'm reading, because I read a book every 2 weeks at least. So basically, sometimes on a whim, like I might get right into a book on, that time, and I might navigate to writing something that has to do with marketing, like an idea. So I'm like you, I'm very ADD. So I just go with what I'm doing, right? And I've
Right.
been really good at harnessing the ADD as well. So I've been focused on that too, which helped me get to my buffer day, which we'll talk about in a sec. So basically, the morning between 9 and 12 or 1 o'clock, because I'm gonna have lunch in there, is all me. It's like me reading, me absorbing, me learning, because knowledge is part of who I am. Really, like I told you that I cannot get up in a day and not learn something. So
Right.
that's just part of who I am. And then I might get into I'm in the creative mode. That's when my flow zone is. Between 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock in the afternoon is my flow zone. That's why nothing happens in my day before 1 o'clock. If you noticed, I asked you to go after 1 o'clock, right?
Right.
So then from 1 o'clock until 5 o'clock is when I do work, like work related stuff, whatever that is. And now it's based more on theming. So instead of me being random, like I used to be, it's more of themes. So this day I'm going to do these things or these type of projects. On the other days, I'm going to do this type of projects. So then on Tuesday, that's what happens on Monday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday, I'm totally off. Or if you want to call it, there's no structure at all. I do the same thing in the morning, but then it's like, what am I going to do in the rest of the Wednesday? Who
Right.
cares? Don't know. And then Thursdays, I do the same thing in the morning, and the morning never changes. And then I teach Atlas. So I have one day on Thursdays where I'm actually coaching and doing the program, which is why I can buy back 96% of my time, like I just shared. And then Friday, Saturday, Sundays, the same exact thing in the morning, except for what am I going to do, in the afternoon tonight? Who cares? Who knows? Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
all random. So that's it. Like
Spontaneous.
really 3 days. Yeah, it's spontaneous. It's
Right.
3 days that I've kind of got a structure. And really, it's only 15 hours, if you want to call it that, of quote unquote structure. So I'm really
Wow.
structured of 15 hours in my entire week, as opposed to when I
Amazing.
was doing it 100 hours a week before, which was random all over the place.
Or running the businesses that you could have been running and then, not having any time for your family. Like I know your son's birthday was yesterday and, things
Yep.
like that and celebrating with family and Mother's Day and just those things. A lot of people don't even get those moments. My
No,
son-in-law didn't even get to, do Mother's Day yesterday because his work is such that he had to be there on a Sunday on Mother's Day, right? So a lot of people not saying anything about he loves what he does, but it is what it is, right? And you have created a life that serves you and your
Yeah,
family, right?
you know, I want to speak to that for a second because I used to be that person
Yeah.
and that's where it all started because, I have a picture and I'll send it to you. I have a picture
Oh,
of my
please.
son in my vocal booth when I was doing spinning sound and I was remixing down in my basement, 20 steps away from him, and never saw the first 3 years of his life because I
Mm,
was busy downstairs making money, quote unquote,
right,
for the family, all that stuff. Right.
right.
And, and I have a picture of him in the booth when he's 3 years old because that's how we would play. He would come
Oh.
downstairs and I'd be on the computer and I'd be like, "Hey, let's play hide and seek." Meanwhile, like a goofball, I'm actually working, but it's like kind of when you see people going to, I don't know, their kids skating and they're like,
Hmm.
"I'm here, I'm present," but they're sitting on their phone. I'm like,
Right.
"Bullshit. You're not there.
Yeah,
You're physically here, but you're not mentally there." Right.
exactly.
And
Right.
then you haven't seen how many times your kid looked up at you to see if you were watching and you weren't and you were looking at your phone. Like that's kind of how it was for me. And I totally
Mm.
regret that, but it's something that I like look back and this is what I want people to stop doing. And so right now, as you said that, I'm looking at a quote that's on my wall that's all yellowed out and everything else from John Assaraf
Hmm.
back in 2012. He was in my first mastermind and he said, I asked him a question because I was just getting the coaching and said, "What can you tell me to tell them or to ask them, my clients, something personal, right? That
Right.
would help them be motivated to move." And he said, "Ask them, what are you willing to trade your life for?
Oh, wow.
What are you willing to trade your life for?" And I used to say that and get very, very emotional about it. I'm gotten a little bit better about it now, but it really impacted me because that to me is what not only what I was doing, because I remember distinctly even when Nicole was, I don't know, she was 7 or 8, maybe 6, whatever.
Hmm.
And I'm here sitting doing, it was definitely during the 2016 to 19. So however old she was. And I'm sitting here writing, email copy or something. And so she comes up and she says, "Hey, Daddy, can we play basketball?" And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Just let me finish this email. Like, how many times have we said that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
Just give me 5 minutes. That 5 minutes turned into hours every time. And so that one moment, I remember that. And she's standing there. She goes, "Okay," like, like kids do. And I looked up at that freaking thing that's sitting over my monitor right now. "What are you willing to trade your life for?" I looked back
Wow.
at my Word document. I said, "Am I willing to trade this 20 minutes or something that she wants for this freaking email? No, I'm done." So I went and said, "Let's go play." And that
Oh,
was a
wow.
pivotal moment,
Oh my God, I love it. Oh, brings tears to my eyes. Oh my
right?
God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Wow.
so that's what it's about. Like, what are you trading your life for? And
Right.
and anybody listening, if we, end this here,
Yeah. And that's what I was going
that's
to say. Yeah, that's perfect.
well, this is how you can end it. Like, this is how I take it. Um, when I was teaching or first coaching people, they all wanted to get out of their job. Okay, that
Hmm.
was the thing. They wanted to replace their job with a business money thingy. So it was always about getting out of the job. And they would always describe to me how they hated the job and even, how they would drive in the snow to there, like all the stuff that would happen that they hated. And me, I'm a go-getter. Like I'm like, well, if it was me, I would just quit. And I'm not suggesting doing
Yeah.
that,
No,
right?
right.
I would
Right.
just stop doing that and go doing this because I'm a risk taker. But I'm going, and I know that's not what you're going to do, but I'm asking you to go do these things in the next 90 days. And 90 days ago, you said you would, but you're not. You didn't do
Hmm.
anything.
Hmm.
And what that's telling me is that you are actually subconsciously trading your life for something you don't love.
Right.
And I want you to think about that. And anybody listening to this right now, that if you think, well, I don't know, like, should I do this or should I do that? And if you're not where you are right now, and there's something, an opportunity or something in front of you and you're fearful of it, you have no idea if it's going to change your life or not. But right now, you know what is wrong with your life or upsetting about what's going on in your life. And if you do the same thing tomorrow, you'll feel exactly the same way, right? So you're
Exactly.
actually trading your life for something you don't like.
Repeat,
That's what that,
rewind. Repeat,
yes,
rewind, right? Yeah.
it just doesn't make sense to me, but I understand it. But to me, that's why I said, okay. And if you were my client call, I would say, then Collie, what are you willing to trade your life for? And if you were like this for 3 months with me, and I'm like, you've been doing the same thing again and again, that's what you're trading your life for. You're complaining about this thing and you're trading your life for that. Do you see that or not? And they would say, holy crap.
Mm.
That's why that quote is sitting in front of me to this day, which is what, 12 years later, it's still on my wall.
Oh my goodness. Well, we will end on this because I'm like speechless. I
Right.
love it. But you know what, Joe? I just really want to say, like I said in the beginning, I'm so grateful to and for you in my life for so many reasons. And I cannot thank you enough for sharing your time because I know it's very valuable with the podcast listeners. And it's been an honor. And I know that people will want to be in touch with you. And I know you're on Facebook at Joey Ragona. You are on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. There's a strategic business academy .com.blog. You have an author's page on Amazon under your name, Joey Ragona. And I'm going to post all this for our listeners because I know they will want to reach out to you because how could they not? I mean, this has just been sensational and I'm in tears because I'm
Thank
so
you.
grateful. So have a wonderful, wonderful week and I will see you tomorrow night, which is maybe you could just quickly tell the viewers about that.
Tomorrow night is are you talking about well, there's
Tuesday
so much
night
going
with
on.
Joey.
Oh, right, right. Okay.
Yeah,
There's so many things going on
I
Tuesday.
know,
Yeah,
right?
because I got the academy. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Totally messed that one up. So yeah, heart-centered marketing is something that I've been doing live on Facebook for gosh, what, 4 years now.
Yeah,
So every
yeah.
Tuesday at 7 o'clock, I go live with an epic person usually, and we just discuss heart-centered marketing and ideas and opinions and all that kind of fun stuff. And Carly, you've been such a huge, huge support of that. I love you for that. Thank you
I can't
for
miss
for
it.
doing
I
that.
wouldn't
Thank you.
miss it. It's been life changing. And honestly, for everyone listening, please join. You will be so happy that you did. So thank you, Joey. Lots of love to you and your family, and happy birthday to your son.
Thank you. Back at you. This has been
Yeah,
great.
you bet. And right back to you. Okay.